Yes, welcome everybody to the first meetup of 2021, the January meetup, and you all just got a little bit of an impression of what the meetups looked like when things were still normal in a physical format. Hopefully we can go back to that format again soon, because I miss talking to all of you in person, because usually it's a bit of one-way traffic when I'm standing here presenting the meetups to you. So welcome all for joining us. Welcome all today, and thank you for joining us. Really nice to see that that the attendees are coming in with more numbers again as we speak. So today is the January meetup of Holland FinTech. We have 3 pitches on the agenda. Besides that, of course, we have the monthly pub quiz where we're going to be testing your fintech knowledge, and we're going to have a market update from our very own Don Ginsel. So if all of you are ready, then I think we can go to the next slide. My name is Michael Broymans. That's not very important. So indeed, good to go to the next slide directly again. This is just a quick slide to explain how the Hop-in platform that we're using right now, how it works. So I would suggest, first of all, that you all double click on the screen that is being presented, so you can get a large view of what's happening, and you can really focus on the slides that we will be showing you today. So this is just a brief explanation of how the platform works. On the left hand side, you can see the sessions area. That's where this event is taking place. Underneath the sessions, you also see the networking option, which we can use after the meetup, so you can talk to some other participants or some of the Holland FinTech staff if you're interested in that. On the right hand side, you have the chat box and the chat area. You can submit some chats in the event area or in the specific session area. I would suggest, I can see some of you are already entering the chat in the event area. But I'll navigate between both sections to make sure I read all of the comments. But I would suggest using the session chat box, because that's really where we are today and at this moment. You can also send direct messages to people through the chat area, through the event section, but you can also find people by clicking on their names and send them direct messages as well. So I hope that's all clear. Feel free to play around with that a little bit, but don't leave the sessions area, because if you leave the sessions area on the left, you will be kicked out of this meetup, and you'll have to log in again. So I hope that is all clear and that we can move on to the next slide. And this is indeed the agenda for today. So I touched upon it briefly at the start. We're going to have a fintech market update by the founder of Holland FinTech, Don Ginsel. Then we're going to have 2 pitches, one from Amdax Group and one from Stock Republic. Those 2 pitches will be followed by the monthly Kahoot pub quiz. So I hope you've all been reading the newsletters and been staying up to date on the recent fintech developments from the last month. Then we'll have the final pitch by the software house, and then we will be announcing the best pitch as voted by you, because you, as the attendees, will be asking you to rate the pitches and give us some feedback through Mentimeter, but we will give you the login details to log into Mentimeter and to submit your ratings and your answers. I'll give them to you later on. So I think that's it for the agenda, and we can go to the next slide, and I assume that is the FinTech market update. A brief slide about Holland FinTech. For those, because we have previously seen that a lot of people have questions about Holland FinTech, a lot of people also join our meetup who are new here and they're not very familiar with what we do. So Holland FinTech is the FinTech ecosystem, which means that we're building a community for all companies who want to be involved with financial innovation, and we can help you get the resources you need, the knowledge, help you navigate the FinTech market to help your business to prosper within FinTech. In front of you now, you see the slide with the 4 main topics which we will be focusing on for the coming year. So that is collaboration, transformation, representation, and altogether we want to make a big impact within the ecosystem. And we want you to be part of this as well, because as an ecosystem provider, we can't do it alone. The power is within the member companies in our ecosystem. So And if you would like to know more about these topics and exactly, and maybe you can't read the subscripts of the topics, this can also be found on our website, hollandfintech.com/program, and you can take your time and read through it at your own pace there. So I think that's it from Holland FinTech perspective. If you can go to the next slide. Next slide, please. There we go. And indeed, we're going to kick off the program with our very own Don Ginsel, who's going to give us an update on the recent FinTech developments. So Don, whenever you're ready, I see you're logged in. You feel free to switch on your camera and give us some very insightful information about the ecosystem.
I'll do that, Michael. Thanks a lot for the introduction. I hope you can hear me well and can see my slides.
Ready to go, Don?
Yes, there we are. So thanks everyone for joining. Really nice to be talking to you again now for the first time in 2021. And what I'll be doing is trying to highlight some of the things that caught our attention over the past month. I think it's quite a challenge to keep up with everything that's going on in and around fintech, as there's just a lot going on, a lot of new entrants coming into the market, new partnerships, new regulations, investment deals, research reports, opinion pieces. There's just a lot coming out. If you want to keep track of that, please check out our weekly Global FinTech newsletter that goes out every Friday afternoon. It keeps you up to date on the latest developments in fintech. Or read up on our network update that we send out every Wednesday. That basically covers everything that's going on in our own ecosystem. So basically from the parties that you're probably most familiar with. So what we're doing now is basically look back at December. So it's the update in January about December. Well, just basically go through some of the highlights as well as show you some of the graphs that we dug up from some of the research reports that came out and give you some sense of what was going on in the past month. I'll first start with the list in front of you. It's interesting to see that German regulators actually allowed for blockchain to be used for securities administration. That's quite a first. We are expecting regulation from Europe at that level quite soon. But at the moment, it was quite interesting that the German government was moving ahead, since they have been quite wary to let companies work with crypto before. So that's quite interesting. Then if we stay in the crypto world, we see that the SEC, the US regulator, filed a lawsuit against Ripple, which basically Ripple actually fought against because they didn't find it a fair charge. But at the same time, we saw that there was a lot of turmoil around the value of the XRP token, which is Ripple's own cryptocurrency. And so even though over the past year there was a very strong rise of crypto value, we saw that XRP took a very big hit. For the people that don't know Ripple, it's an interbank exchange platform that basically is trying to replace what SWIFT is doing currently as a bank-to-bank communication tool, and they try to use crypto in that method. One of the other cryptocurrencies that's quite popular is Ethereum, or ETH. They recently actually updated their algorithms and launched Ethereum 2.0. That's it's been received quite well, and they managed to really sort of increase especially the capabilities of the platform, because before they weren't able to handle a lot of calculations and transactions per time span, and they now really managed to improve their algorithms to improve that and make Ethereum better applicable for all kinds of financial and non-financial applications. I'll get back to that on the crypto level later. Another one, what was quite interesting, I think, is there was a lot of discussion about buy now, pay later transactions. You might be familiar with those because in Europe they're also becoming quite popular with platforms like Afterpay or Klarna, allowing consumers to buy e-commerce transactions and pay in installments or basically turn it around into a loan. And I think what you see now is that some financial institutions, especially in the US, are trying to oppose that transition because they find that customers are not always aware of the risk that they run by going into these transactions, and they might be overcredited. So it's interesting to see how these sort of, let's say, the traditional financial industry is trying to avoid these new lending methods for consumers. QR payments are becoming much more popular. One of the examples for that is the PayPal allowing iZettl's QR codes to really work well now in the UK. And we're expecting that to actually move much further across Europe as well in the coming year. So that's quite an interesting challenge, I think. Given the fact that Brexit, of course, has happened right now, we saw that some of the big tech firms started to actually move their data around. So before, as the UK was also part of the EU, they had to store their data in the EU, very often in Ireland, for example. But given the fact that the UK is now independent, a lot of these big tech firms started to move data to US data centers. I'm very curious what that'll end up in, because I would also suspect that also the UK regulators and policymakers will want to keep a grip on their citizens' data. So that's probably going to spark some debate somewhere over the coming period, once the dust has settled around Brexit itself. Let's see, what do we have? Two new propositions from the European Union, the Digital Services Act and Digital Markets Act. They might not sound very financial, but I truly believe that financial services are becoming an integral part of digital services. And therefore, I think these two acts are also really applying to a lot of the services that financial companies are working on. I think already just by the fact that a lot of financial institutions are exploring other business models than their interest rate income. And very soon you'll be entering into the digital services space. And so from that perspective, these two acts are also quite interesting from a financial perspective. We got an overview of the number of AML fines. Also in 2019, we saw, of course, a lot of big fines being issued. And also last year, again, more than 10 billion US dollar were issued in fines for breaking KYC and MiFID and data privacy rules, along with money laundering. Quite serious still, and so you still see that there's a lot of pressure on the financial industry to keep on improving, and so I think still compliance staff to work on these issues is still highest in demand. It's interesting to see that there's some antitrust regulations coming up, antitrust cases coming up. We saw already that also in the US, there's of course debates about whether the big tech firms have become too big and should be broken up. And some of them are actually have fined charges pressed against them. We now also see actually that for the first time happening in towards Asian perspective, not like in the earlier cases with Huawei, for example, that was charged of espionage. This is now really just about market, really about trust perspective. So this is about competition law. And it's interesting to see that, and also actually in the Chinese market itself, you see that they start to look much more wary against the big tech platforms there, while over the past years they seem to be much more supportive of these very large scale things. And for example, one of the weird things that we've seen over the past time is that Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, and therefore also Alipay and the Ant Group, has not been seen in public for the last 2 months after being quite critical towards the Chinese government. Pretty uncertain what's really going on there, but still quite an interesting development there, where you see there's much more tension between the big tech platforms and the government in China as well. One thing, of course, that needs to get mentioned from a security perspective is the SolarWinds breach. SolarWinds provides software that a lot of companies rely on for their internal communication. And it was suspected that Russian hackers via SolarWinds were able to hack into a lot of systems and do espionage and steal information. That worked. A lot of US government institutes were breached, as well as large corporations like Microsoft, for example. And lastly, on this slide, we see that also fintechs are definitely not innocent if you talk about the way that they do their business, and can see some serious charges and fines for misconduct. Here you see that Robinhood was charged for actually not representing the way their business model accurately towards their customers. So they never mentioned to the consumer customers the way that they actually got a kickback from the traders that handled the trades that these consumers were doing. And the SEC has fined, well, basically they didn't fine them, but they paid a settlement to get rid of the charges by the SEC because of that. And probably we will see some more of these kind of challenges in cases where the business model is just not clear and communicated well. And I think definitely some of the things that actually go well with companies that scale and become big enough for the regulators to actually start caring and start investigating how deep these business models go and how they have their conduct in line with what the regulations prescribe. So that was quite a mouthful. Let me go on to the next part. Here you'll see that the number of fundings we've discovered in the past month. If you actually go to our website, you can find the monthly update is also on our insights page, and you can actually get a better grip on the complete overview of all the funding rounds that we found and where they're mostly invested. Here actually, if we as you can see, it's quite interesting to see that Europe and the US are now pretty much in sync, because it's been quite a while, and usually the number of investments in the US is much bigger than we see in Europe. And also the relatively small number in Asia is quite interesting to see. So normally, let's say over the past years, 1/3 would be US, 1/3 would be Asia, and the other third of that, half of that would be basically Europe, and the rest would be rest of the world. And so it's interesting to see now a little change in balance over the past month, which of course doesn't say that that's really going to be the case going forward, because Asia is still a very strong powerhouse. But as said, they do struggle a little bit with the independent force of market parties compared to what the government wants. So here are the fundings we found globally to be the largest. So we saw an Indian payment company, PhonePe, to be the largest one, raising 636 million, and a Judo Bank following swiftly. So it's quite interesting to see, again, a neobank and payments being very strong, but also we see mortgages and lending, and increasingly also much more insurance being very active on raising funding. But it's the global list, so they might not be all that familiar. So we also extracted the list in Europe, where Go Cardless is the largest funding round, and of course Tink, very familiar for us, is also one of the ones that announced a very big round in December with 85 million. Further, we see Lydia, Monzo, Liberis, Selective, Luco, Imedis, Clio AI, and Go Henry, bringing in quite some money for Europe this time. And altogether, you saw already that it was quite a chunk of money that actually was invested in fintech in Europe in December. Then just briefly in the Dutch market, because they didn't make it into the top 10 of Europe, but 5 Degree announced a large round, and we saw some smaller rounds from Payout, Almaxena, and Vermeer Group, all basically managed to raise some funding. And it's good to see that the ecosystem is still vivid with investment deals, even though doing deals during Corona in a remote situation is still a bit tougher than it was before. And really nice to see that 5 Degrees again made this big round to further scale their banking platform. Then one of the things that we caught up with was, of course, very often there's a lot of research being done. And this was an interesting map to just show some examples of some of the insurtech startups that are active in the European market. Just to nice to show you. And I think that we're focusing much more on insurtech over the coming year than we did before. So this is also one of the ways to really highlight some of the local champions that are found across Europe. And this was a research that was done in addition to research that they did before around startups in the UK, France, and Germany especially. By the way, the slide will be shared afterwards, so and you can find most of the information in the blog on our website, the December monthly overview. This was also a nice stat that we saw the most active investors in RegTech. Definitely recommend you to dive in there as well. You can read the names of the companies on the webpage a bit better, but especially Excel is basically seen as one of the more active investors in this space. So it's nice to follow where they're investing and to see where the bigger trends are heading. I want to wrap it up a bit because I think I'm taking too much of your time, so I speed it up a little bit. One thing I just wanted to say here about is that, of course, we saw just, I think, like in 2017, a very big rally again in the cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin and Ethereum were very much on the rise. So good to keep an eye out for that. There are some really hefty predictions on the potential value of crypto coming up. I think now these values are they're becoming at least it's more clear now that it's quite speculative. So it's good to be really careful with any kinds of transactions that you do with this. But at the same time, we see that the underlying transactions that are built, the underlying infrastructure that this is built on, and how they can contribute to financial services in general has really improved. And so that's quite appealing to see how these technologies have become mainstream now. And I'm really curious to see how they will evolve in the coming year, when potentially the uncertainty in financial markets, as well as sort of the pressure on inflation that's also driving the value up, how they might be reduced when the government incentive schemes for COVID might be reduced, and we finally hopefully move into less quantitative easing grounds. I think this is my last slide. And just one point I just want to make, which I think is just to give you a bit of hope in these days, because I think looking forward a bit towards 2021, I think everyone's craving for a more normal year. I think that we have to deal with the first half year pretty much being like 2020. So not much going to change because the virus is going to stick with us for quite a bit. But I thought it was an interesting way of looking at it, is that it seemed a bit like the situation the world was in around 1918 and 1920, when the Spanish flu and World War I basically had depressed everyone for quite a while, which was sparking the roaring 20s. And I've seen already quite some people picking it up now, that we're probably going to look at some roaring 20s once the pandemic has been fought off. And I thought that was definitely a perspective I wanted to share with you, because I think that's quite an interesting way of looking at the future. So message is, hold on just for a little bit longer, and let's definitely have a very good party afterwards. I'll leave it at that.
Indeed, a lot of information to share, but really useful, really insightful as well, and it really gives us a good understanding of what's actually happening in the market, which we can again translate into and integrate into our own activities. So thanks for that, Don. Then we're on to the first pitch of the day, and before we get started with the first pitch, I'm going to ask you all to log in to menti.com using the code 111222 because if you log into menti.com and you fill in the code, you will be able to submit your ratings for the pitches today, and you'll also be able to submit your answers to the feedback questions we have, and give your email address at the end of the session, so we can make sure that you get the presentations that are being presented today as well. So one more time, if you can all go to menti.com and then fill in the code 1112226. Then we can get started. I'm just going to share the code in the chat as well. Anti.com code 1112226. So hope that's all clear. And then I think it's time that we move on to the first pitch of today.
Oh yeah.
Yes, indeed.
What an introduction, Don. Thank you, because you're literally going into my topic.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
We arranged this already beforehand.
Oh yeah, that just seems very good. So hey, I share my screen now, right?
Yeah, you can share your screen. I will briefly introduce you. So Valentino Carmona, the co-founder and director of Amdax Group, and they help people invest into Bitcoin and other digital assets. I'm going to leave the rest up to you, Valentino. Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, great. Perfect. Yeah, so I'm Valentino. I'm one of the founders of Amdax. Beautiful story from Don. You just saw Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're going to the moon. That's what they say in crypto. The reason for that is clearly what's happening in the world right now. So you see, in response to Corona, you have central banks that are inflating the balance sheet massively. The European Central Bank, I think it created 50% of all the euros that are in circulation currently. The US is not much better. They did even more. They added 3 or 4 trillion to their already 4.3 trillion balance sheet before Corona. So this is how the story shapes from big to small. And that's why I built this company. We wanted to give people access to Bitcoin in a regulated way. Now, in the Netherlands, there was no regulated party until now. The DNB, the Nederlandse Bank, opened a crypto registratie. That's what it's called officially. We were the first to get it with Amdax. This means that we have both a registration for exchanging fiat money, which is euros, dollars, whatever. We specifically focus on euros, to digital assets, for example, Bitcoin or Ethereum. Most of the demand is on Bitcoin, of course, and back. So you could also theoretically sell your Bitcoin to euro and withdraw them. And then we also have the custody registration, which means we are a qualified custodian under Dutch law. We follow all of our policies has been checked. We as bestuurders, so the owners of the company, have been checked, and we've been given the green light that we know what we're doing. So this was something that was missing for a lot of people. Everything was unregulated before. So now here is the first regulated or first registered and supervised, if you will, company. There's currently more, but we focus on 2 types of clients. We focus on ultra high net worths or high net worths. So our minimum deposit size is 25,000 euros. And then we focus on financial institutions as well. These could be anything from private banks to family offices, vermogensbeheer. We're even talking to some funds and pension funds, but that's going to take way longer on their side. What we offer is we offer people access to the crypto world. So just coming in a regulated way without having any sort of issues, you can be sure everything has been checked before. We have 2 main products. One is exchanging fiat to crypto and custody on top. So that's 2 products in one, essentially. And there's another service, which is crypto asset management. Of course, we do all of this from within the Börsplein. I could pan my camera right now and you'll see it. We're right inside the floor. So like I said, we exchange fiat to crypto, and the other way around. We are a custodian, so you can store, say, $1 million with us if you have that in crypto. And then we have discretionary asset management. I'm going to break down the 3 services for you so you understand better what they do. So execution only means buying, selling. So you can come to us, you can buy. We have the Euro rails. You just literally send us, you first get KYC'd, obviously. We have to make sure that you're compliant, that all of the funds are okay, and that you're not buying something with illegal money, clearly, otherwise we can't help you. We would have to report you then to the FIU. And of course, in order to do this and set this up properly, you need a good infrastructure with a lot of liquidity in the back. We have a trading terminal with smart order routing functions, which means that this is essentially a program that can see where are the cheapest prices at which time and picks up those prices, always for the best execution. Custody and custody side, we work with Fireblocks. They are the most institutional crypto layer for custodian transactions. They use something called multi-party computation. If anybody is familiar with multi-key signatures, that is essentially the ability to have two keys. Like imagine the old vaults, you can only open it with two keys and open the vault. It's the same with signing transactions. You can also do that as a client. You have the option to be a key signer. So we have to sign with you in order to do anything. That's optional. What we also do is we also have full reserve custodian, which means we do not rehypothecate any funds. This is very, very important. Rehypothecation means borrowing and lending out money behind the user's back most of the time without them knowing, or they just agree to it on terms and conditions that are in very fine print and they don't really have an option, which happens with a lot of retail exchanges. So actually, when you are in those kinds of environments, your funds are being used to make more money behind your back, even though you agreed on it on the very small print, but there's obviously a risk that the other party that's being borrowed out to cannot pay back. So it's very important that you stay with a full reserve custodian, and this is exactly what we do. On the discretionary asset management side, we have for various crypto asset management, this is really personalized. This is minimum 250,000 per client. For institutions, it's obviously there's a different minimum and there's different rates. But here we do a classical 220. This is actively managed by Marcel. He's our CIO. He has ex-Optiver, ex-Achmea. He managed funds in billions with a small team before, so he really knows what he's doing. You have a private client talk with him, and he really gets into your risk profile, what risks you want to take, how long, and then it's being actively managed for you. So he removes the emotional side where maybe you're scared and you want to sell because it's gone too high, but really there is actually much more upside without you knowing, for example. So yeah, secured and insured. I want to highlight this again. Full reserve, very important. Most of the world works on fractional reserve banking, right, and rehypothecation of funds, which is essentially increasing the money that there is in terms of numbers, even though there is no actual deposit backing it. And that's usually called that the deposit rate that the bank has versus the amounts they lend out, right, or credit. For us, it's 100%. So if all the users wanted to get their funds, that's totally possible. There would be no issue at any given point in time, and nobody would get an email saying, "Oh, sorry, you have to wait because of delays." So yeah, that's usually a classical sign that your funds are being borrowed out. You can of course trade with us, so you can just buy, sell. We have a trading platform as well. There we use, like I said, smart order routing. That's essentially best execution, so you can always be executing best price. The way that we've set out our infrastructure is that we trade only against institutions, so liquidity providers. We do not trade on exchanges. Our liquidity providers do sit on exchanges. That's in order to minimize counterparty risk towards our clients as well, because if you sit on public exchanges, there's many hacks, as you know, and we want to basically not have that at all. The most important one for institutions is, of course, and also a lot of high nets, is that we're regulated and approved by the DNB. Again, this is the crypto registratie here in the Netherlands. There's about 15 companies that have it now, but most of them focus on retail. We're the only one that really focuses on big, large institutional players and accommodates their needs. And this was a very, very important stepping stone also for the crypto space in general, because regulation is here. Germany is also very straight ahead with regulation. They're actually the first to include it into the legislation via BaFin. And this is just a very good stepping stone for our industry. This is our team. We have 5 core members. We're currently hiring like crazy. Right now, as I speak, there is another hiree having a talk. We have also developers that are not mapped here, but yeah, we're expanding extremely fast. We're based on the Burst Plan 5. If you want to know anything more, you can contact me. You can follow me on Twitter. You can reach out to me. And yeah, that's it. That's my elevator pitch.
Thanks a lot, Valentino. A really very clear pitch, and really insightful to see kind of what you're offering and how you do that. Yeah, so we're taking the screen back again. In the meantime, I would like to ask all the, before we go to the Q&A, I would like to ask all the attendees to submit your rating through Mentimeter. If you don't have the code, you can find it in the chat. I posted it a little bit before. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, please post them as well, so I can address them to Valentino. I don't think there are any questions from the audience right now, but I am quite curious, Valentino,
Yes.
to understand, because you are one of the pioneers when it comes to crypto and getting a license. I mean, that must have been quite a tricky process. Could you give us some insights into how that went? How did you navigate that?
Yeah, that was extremely tedious. First of all, there was no policies on the digital asset side, so you can do and borrow some policy framework from MiFID II applications, for example. I can hear myself, by the way. For example, if you apply for, so we obviously had a senior compliance officer that has done multiple MiFID II applications in his life for companies. So we took his advice and we brought him in to help us also shape that side. So on the fiat side, it's very clear what you can do in terms of regulatory sense. But when it comes to the digital asset side, well, yeah, the regulators, most of them have never used a wallet. They didn't know how the transfers work. That was an education process. We came up with dusting, for example, which is like the small, you can see it in the fiat world, which is the small 1 cent payment to verify that it's actually your account. So we had to create these policies from scratch. They didn't exist anywhere. And yeah, that's why it took a long time. But yeah, we were also the first, and it took about one year, I would say, to get it all.
So in the meantime, another reminder to the audience to submit your rating for Valentino. So basically, you helped Valentino. You helped the regulators to create the policy.
Yeah, we also helped them create policies. They also took some of ours then and said, well, this is really good. We'd like to have this as a market standard, for example. So yeah, it was a give and take here and there. Definitely.
That's very cool to hear. In the meantime, there has been entered in the chat box by Alexander Savinov, and he's asking you, Valentino, are there any other wealth management platforms with predefined strategies like Economy? And what would you say is your advantage on this side?
Ooh, I heard of Economy, but I haven't had this chance to really look into it. So I'm not, I don't really know how to answer the economy part of the question because I just don't know exactly what they're doing. There is not many digital asset wealth management platforms in the Netherlands at all. You have some maybe in Germany, but they're more fund structures. But in terms of execution only and asset management, I actually am not aware of anyone else currently in the Netherlands doing this in the way that we're set up. But yeah, our benefit is that we are crypto guys. Yeah, I'm in the market for 10 years. I know this market inside out. We're very good at navigating it essentially, and it's a completely different risk profile than traditional markets. So the benefit is we've built the infrastructure in the Netherlands. We have Euro rails. We're regulated. We're under the Dutch regulatory scheme. We have the knowledge in house. So yeah, these are a couple of points.
Yeah. It sounds like you're really paving the way for many for future crypto wealth managers to come. We have one more question from Don. He's asking basically, what's your opinion about the price of crypto from neobanks?
Yeah, so I think that's great. They have a lot of demand. So, for example, PayPal is another one. They're not really a neobank, but Revolut is. But like, what I think Revolut, if I remember, Revolut does not allow you to do withdrawals. So the way that they structure it is a bit, tricky. They essentially allow you to buy and sell it, but you can't really move it around, as far as I'm aware, on Revolut. That's the same with PayPal. You cannot withdraw your crypto, so you're kind of limited to that counterparty, and your risk is also that counterparty. Although I do know that PayPal is doing it with Paxa, so they're very solid in the way that they have fixed their custody. It's essentially very similar to ours. But the thing about that is that they usually hold the crypto assets, and you don't have the flexibility that you want. I do think it's an amazing step, though, because PayPal has more demand every day in terms of buying Bitcoin just from their user base, then Bitcoins are being produced every day. So that's just PayPal. Then you have Grayscale, which is eating about 3 times the amount of Bitcoin that is being produced every day. That's what they're doing as well. And then you have all the other institutions coming in. That's why you see this incredible rise that has been happening. And yeah, the predictions are anywhere from 100, 150, 200,000 top of this run. And within the next 10 years, it's probably going to be in a million, because what Bitcoin is, for example, is it's the inverse relation, literally, to central bank balance sheets. The more balance sheets are being expanded in irresponsible and fiscal monetary policy from central banks, the more this asset will rise as it is used as a hedge against these governing systems and that fiat money, if you will, which is literally becoming more worthless by the day, especially during crisis events.
Oh, okay, that gives me valuable insights. I might just take some money out of my savings account and put some more into crypto. Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's Bitcoin is going down as the digital gold. That's what it's solidified itself as. This is what institutions have accepted it to be. Now you have Ethereum, which is the computer layer with all the financial, the beautiful thing about the smart contracts is you can automate financial layers on top of each other, and there's no faults other than some sort of Oracle flash crashes, price feeds, for example, which are detailed nuances, which you can avoid these risks. But it's an incredible new world that will change everything, and it's going to take still a bit of time. But I think you're seeing the beginning of it now. And after a decade of performance, I mean, literally everyone who's bought Bitcoin at this stage in the past they're all in profit. So if you have conviction, you do not sell. This is a 200% compounded asset class per year over the last decade, which is incredible. Yeah.
Very much. It seems like you have a lot more knowledge to share. Maybe you should think about setting up an event.
I will put my email in the chat. So if anyone is interested or has any questions, please just feel free to reach out.
That would be great. Thank you very much, Valentino.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. So that was the first pitch, and that means I hope you all submitted your rating. I think maybe in Menti we already went to the next question for a bit of feedback for Holland FinTech. Valentino just posted his his email address in the chat box. So that's all great, and that means we're ready to go to the second pitch of the day. And to the next slide, please. So the second pitch is by Fabian Grappengieser. I hope I pronounced it right, Fabian. And you're the co-founder and CEO of Stock Republic. And Stock Republic, it's kind of like open banking for investments. So Fabian, whenever you're ready, feel free to start your presentation.
Thank you.
Share your screen.
So let me see if I can share this with you. All right. Do you see something now?
Yes, we do. I'm not sure if it's in full screen mode. I don't think so. See your screen.
All right. Now then.
Yes, it's loading. Yes, perfect.
All right.
Good luck.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Fabian, and I'm the CEO of Stock Republic. I recently read a report from the US about something called the rise of retail investors. So that's the space we're in here. It's really a rise of retail investors, and retail investors are you and me, basically. Ordinary people moving money from their accounts into stocks and mutual funds or crypto, perhaps. So that's the space we're in here. And I used to work at a Swedish bank, heading the internet office. And the sort of problems I faced there was not sort of how to buy or sell online, but the problems the customers had was really about what should I buy? So I started to dig into the database we had and saw that about 10-15% of the customers were actually really, really good in taking care of their own money. So that's basically what we try to use, that information. So if the question in bank customers' heads are how to handle my investments in mutual funds or stocks for my pensions or for my kids, Then it comes up to they need some kind of guidance. And there are a couple of sort of options here when it comes to guidance. You could buy a newspaper and read it, for sure. You can go to your bank and get some advice from the bank, buying probably their own products. But the information we work with is real people's real investment and their history in real time. So we call them star investors. So that's a very trustworthy and good source for inspiration, engagement for your investments. And what we provide is basically a platform and applications for banks to connect. So we could connect one or several banks in basically any market and set up a universe of what we call star investors, which could be looking like this, where everyone at your bank could actually see each other in real time, share portfolios, follow, analyze, and benchmark in a lot of ways, instant. So what type of values that gives to the end customer, which is you and me? Well, maybe you don't know how I'm performing right now, but in this case you could. So take guidance from other people like star investors in real time, an instant benchmark on your return, your climate impact, your diversity. How are you really doing compared to everyone else, or the best right now? And then we have the social aspect, which is very important. You need some kind of interaction with others, your peers, your friends and family, your workmates, or someone else. So we've got a lot of features around that. If we're coming into sort of the core type of features we provide, this is what we usually name as the social features, where we visualize portfolios, yours and everyone else, in this fashion. We have the community, where you interact in a Facebook-like manner, where you follow, you comment, you post, and so on. And the middle thing here is maybe more important and interesting. That's when you want to explore things, you maybe know what you're searching for, but if you're not, we give you selections here based on your savings profile, your activity, and a lot of other metrics. So this is the sort of lean forward method, where we give you information you didn't know that you were interested in. The other sort of main part of our features is the data analysis benchmark. So you can have a lot of benchmark in a lot of things, but we've concentrated ourselves on 3 topics here: risk diversity, return, how you performing against me, and your climate impact. How's my really climate impact in terms of stocks, mutual funds, or any other investment object? So I guess it's worth a few words about this thing, because when it comes to climate impact rating, there are a few things coming up around mutual funds, but when it comes to the stock universe, it's very sort of empty. So what we do is we, nevertheless, if you have mutual funds or stocks or something else, we put a rating on it: low, medium, or high carbon risk, basically, which makes us able to benchmark yourself. So we have done this in the Nordics for a couple of years, and we have some extensive experience from that. So we're working in 4 countries. We have a couple of 100 portfolios on board and a lot of money in that platform. So that gives us some insights and metrics. What happens when people start engaging in this kind of environment? Well, engagement and activity rises, obviously, which gives a lot of content. And content is good for a lot of reasons, not the least SEO. What also happens is that we attract new customers through the network with the acquisition cost of 0. This is usually quite costly to attract new customers in this area. Increased activity boosts trading and saving volumes. And if you're into cross-border, buying something in another currency, this is something really we've seen in our metrics booming here. And if we come into the more specific metrics, these are the average number of increased revenues per customer using this service annually. Customer satisfaction, obviously depending where you come from, but you can see it rising a lot here. New customers to the bank, that is new customer acquisitions, basically. The network attracts new customers to the bank. And the last number here is actually you, the end customer. Better return for end customers. And 4% units, that's a lot. Meaning, if I have 6% per year, then you have 10. So that's the metrics that we have. And what do we actually do? We provide a platform and applications and APIs for banks. So we need some kind of data here. We need anonymized data from the bank, any bank. And then we provide the social platform, investor community, the benchmark features, automated sales, marketing, and content. And we deliver it through either ready applications, iOS, Android, web, desktop, or APIs that you can integrate in your existing services. So our business model is what we call a low-risk business model because we charge for active users. If people like it, it will cost you something, otherwise not. We use a lot of the open banking infrastructure coming up, so we can get up and running within 6 to 8 weeks with a pilot or a demo for selected customers if you want. So that is the short story. And please interact with me anytime.
Thanks a lot, Fabian. It was also really nice to see what you guys are doing and what the community looks like and what the product looks like. In the meantime, before we go to the Q&A, I would like to remind everybody of rating the pitch. So going to menti.com, filling in the code, or if you're still logged in, you can immediately submit your rating. And then I'm going to the questions for Fabian. So I see one question has come in from the chat from Marek Gaida, and he's asking you, Fabian, how do these star investors earn on providing this guidance? Do they get any success fee?
Yeah, that's a really good question. No, they don't earn anything. We've tried that out actually before to have some kind of provision system. The more followers, the more money or something. But it really sort of attracted the wrong people. So if you the really good star investors, they're actually not interested in these kind of money that you can get through provision. So we took that out of the equation here. So what you earn is basically reputation, peers, network, community, groups. So you could call it ego, basically. It's a very strong force when you use it. People want to shine.
Very clear answer. And to build on that a little bit, do you see some star investors that are really using this opportunity to kind of build their own reputation?
Yes, sure. Most people are actually anonymous in these kind of networks, but some that are maybe bloggers or influencers in some kind, they really want to use their name to build a reputation, and they can, showing the real investments in real time, which builds a trustworthy sort of a communication here.
And then if the investors have a trustworthy can leverage that in other areas as well.
Yes.
So they can translate it into many benefits on the long term, I think.
Yeah.
I see another question came in, Fabian. It's from Camille Guven, and he's asking you, while there are also platforms with similar social services as eToro, he would like to ask, based on what research do you expect that previously successful star investors would continue to perform well? The scientific research states even the fund performs past performance, don't predict the future well.
Yeah, if I get the question right here, there are similar services as eToro, etc., and most of them are also market makers. So they actually want to sort of provide or promote their own products, basically. And most people in eToro, no offense, but it's sort of a high-risk game, I would say, with very sort of complex products. What we are aiming at are ordinary people, ordinary products like stocks and mutual funds. So that's a completely different game, a much more sort of long-term game. It's not day trading, I would say. So what we see is that we have these 10-15% of users that we call star investors that actually keep on performing, because in order to be a star investor in our algorithms, you have to perform over a long time at a very good level compared to indices and other parameters. So I would say that's a fair sort of indication for the future as well.
Yeah, thanks. That's a clear answer to the both parts of the question. There are no questions more coming in from the audience. For me, it's also all clear. So I think that's it for the Q&A. Fabian, I would like to thank you very much for your presentation. It was really clear. Thank you for answering the questions as well.
Thank you.
Let's move on to the next part. Thanks. So the next part is going to be, first of all, I hope you all filled in your feedback for Fabian through menti.com. And now we're also going to the next question to ask a little bit of feedback for our side as Holland FinTech. And while you do that, I'm going to set up the pub quiz because I think it is time for the pub quiz. And that means we can go to the next slide as well. And I will share my screen in a minute. Okay, it's loading right now. I'm just generating the Kahoot code. I have it here. I will put it on full screen. I will share it in the chat box. And I will share my screen now. Let's see. It should be this one. Okay. There we go. I hope you all can see the Kahoot screen. So how do you log in? How do you participate? www.kahoot.it. I will share it right now in the chat box. And then you use the code. The game pin is 5140785. So 5140785. And I see a lot of people are already logging in. Which see, of course, you can fill in whatever name you want. I'm not going to kick you out if you have an offensive name. Probably not anyway. You can use your company name if you want to create a bit of exposure. Just so you know, the top 3 participants who get the best scores at the end of the pub quiz, they get 3 podium places, and we have a prize for the number 1, the winner with the highest score. Let's see who's coming in. So FinTech Rockstar is here. I expect a very high score from FinTech Rockstar. I see Marek is here as well. Nice that you're here, Marek. You're very actively participating with us today. It's great to see, and you'll probably be sharing a few words yourself in a minute as well. Orange Tomato is here. That doesn't sound very healthy. I hope everything's okay. FinTech Banker, I expect high scores from you as well. We have 21 participants. I'm going to give you a few more seconds before we'll really get started. Yes, Friday night is also here. I know it's Friday night. We won't keep you too long. And I hope you've got a few drinks if you're watching this from home as well, to increase the fun a little bit. Harry is here. Nice to see you, Harry. Someone who's in the roaring 20s. Nice that you're participating as well. Socrates is here as always, as one of our most well-known Kahoot participants. I see the number is balancing at 23, so I will get started in a minute. Just a brief explanation before we get started. You will see the question on the screen that I'm sharing. Then you will see the options underneath the screen. Each answer has its own color. And then you can use the web browser or your phone, whichever you use to log in to fill in the answer. The faster you answer, the more points you get, if the answer is correct, of course. Michael Jackson returned from the dead. That's an honor, to be honest. Michael Jackson, welcome. I see someone just logged out. So if you close the browser, also on your phone, you get kicked out. I think maybe even if you close you put it on lock screen, you might get kicked out. So make sure that you keep it open and then we can get started. I don't know if the 24th person still wants to log back in. I'll give you a few seconds. And let's see who has been following the Holland FinTech newsletters and the FinTech news in general. I don't see the 24th person joining anymore, so I think it's time to get started. So I hope you're ready for question number 1. Here we go. Question number 1. How many Meetup.com FinTech groups are there with 1,000 registered people or more in Europe? Is that red, only 1 group, Holland FinTech? Or is it blue, only 4? Is it mango, 10? Or is it green, 16 Meetup.com FinTech groups with more than 1,000 registered people? Now let's see who got this knowledge right. I have to admit, it's not really FinTech news, but it is a nice, a little fun fact about FinTech. And indeed, the answer is 16 FinTech groups in Europe with more than 1,000 registered people. Nice to see that a lot of you thought there was only 1. That means a lot to us. Thank you for that. Assuming you mean Holland FinTech. Now let's see who got that right and who got it right quickly. FinTech Rockstar, happy to see that you're living up to your name. You're taking the number 1 spot. Michael Jackson is 2nd, and Roaring 20s is roaring up the top 5 as well. Question number 2. The FCA's COVID-19 resilience test resulted in how many firms at risk of failure, who had a risk of failure? Is it red, 4,000 firms? Is it blue, 400? Is it mango, 1,500? Or is it green, 1 million? So how many firms came out of the test with a negative rating, meaning that they were at risk of failure, basically due to the whole COVID-19 lockdown and pandemic? Indeed, the answer is 4,000. So that's quite a lot. All these firms that were assessed by the test, they were all under regulations. So a lot of work has to be done by these firms and by the market itself to kind of get that back to a reasonable level of operation and not in risk of failure. Who had that right? Back to the scoreboard. Michael Jackson is taking over FinTech Rockstar. Roaring 20 still in the top 3. And let's see what question 3 has in store for us. A firm is aiming for a $9 billion valuation with their IPO. What share price range are they aiming for? Is it red, between 82 and 91 pennies? Is it blue, $33 and $38? Is it mango, $47,000 and $51,000? Or is it green, $1,200 and $1,400? So what share price are they aiming for with their IPO? Now let's see. Indeed, between 33 and 38. That was, to be honest, the only real reasonable answer. So happy to see most of you got that right. I see some of you thought it was between 47 and 51K for a stock, which would be a very high price. I don't think those stock prices, we've reached those kind of amounts yet. Let's see who had that right in the scoreboard. Close race here between FinTech Rockstar and Michael Jackson. FinTech Rockstar back in the number 1 spot. Roaring 20 still in 3rd place, but followed closely by Bart and by Bob. Question 4. President Trump has signed executive orders to ban US transactions with FinTech apps from which country? Is it red, from the Netherlands? Is it blue, from the United States? Is it mango, from China? Or is it green, from the UK? So he signed executive orders to ban US transactions with FinTech apps from which country? I see most of you have already filled in your answer. And let's see who knew that. Indeed, of course, that's China. It's not from FinTech apps from the United States, although with what's happening right now, you really don't know what Trump is up to anymore. But well, let's go take a look at the scoreboard. And FinTech Rockstar is taking a leap from the number 2 place with Roaring 20s and Michael Jackson still in there. Ewout in the top 5 as well. Nice to see. Question number 5. Today, Bitcoin hit a new all-time high of how much US dollars for 1 Bitcoin? Is it red, 10,000? Is it blue, 22,000? Is it mango, 41,000? Or is it green, 1,000? So what is the value? Which border did Bitcoin hit with its value today? Which value did it go through? Let's see who knows. Yes, indeed, it has crossed $41,000 today, which is indeed an impressive, and it's a new record for Bitcoin. But of course, as Valentino explained earlier today, it's nothing that should really surprise us. Back to the scoreboard. FinTech Rockstar still up there, roaring 20s in a close number 2 spot, and I can see Michael Jackson has completely dropped out of the top 5 spot. Question number 6. Ladies and gentlemen, let's see what it entails. Which Singapore-based taxi company raised $300 million for its fintech services? Is it red Fetch? Is it blue Catch? Is it yellow Grab? Or is it green Snatch? So which Singapore-based taxi company raised $300 million for its fintech services? May I have your answers, please? Only 3 seconds remaining. This is question number 6. And indeed, it is the ride-hailing company called Grab. And besides offering ride-hailing services, it also has payment services and I think a few other industries that it's also active in. But it recently raised $300 million for its fintech services. Back to the scoreboard. 5 players have reached an answer streak of 4 correct answers. Does it mean I'm making the question too easy? I don't know, but Roaring 20s is up in the number 1 spot. This was question 6, so we have only 7, 8, and 9 left. 3 more questions to take that number 1 spot for eternal fame and a nice prize from us. Question number 7. SoFi announced that it is merging with an SPAC called Social Capital in an $8.6 billion deal. What is an SPAC? Is it red, a special purpose acquisition company? Is it blue, a senior problems awareness company? Is it mango, a special prize announcement company? Or is it green, a semantic product artificial coin? Let's see who got that right. So what is an SPAC? And time is up. Indeed, it is a special purpose acquisition company. And I do think I'm making the questions too easy because most of you had that right. And one person thought it was a semantic product artificial coin. I have no idea what it is. I just threw some difficult words in there. But happy to see one person took the bait. So, scoreboard, Roaring 20 is still up there. It's getting a bit boring. Come on, guys. We can do better than this. And ladies, of course. Question 8. According to Mambu, their recent funding round of 110 million euros gives them a valuation of how much? Is it red? 57 million euros? Is it blue? A valuation of 700 million euros? Is it mango? A valuation of 1.1 billion euros? Or green? A valuation of 1.7 billion euros? And this is according to Mambu themselves. Congratulations, by the way, to Mambu for getting this great round of funding. Indeed, the answer is 1.7 billion euros. That was question 8. Let's see. Oh, and Ewout is taking the number 1 spot. Nice to see that. Ewout, 7 correct answers in a row. You're on fire right now. And we're going to the last question. So for anyone who's still got the spot, a chance at the number 1 spot, the faster you answer, the more points you're going to get. Let's see if Ewout can keep his spot and claim the prize. Question 9, I mean. The US Treasury and Commerce Departments experienced computer system breaches via which software? Is it red via polar snow? Is it blue via solar winds? Is it mango via tropical rain? Or is it green through star particles? So this you should know as well because Don even touched upon this in the market update at the beginning of the meetup. Let's see who had that right. Indeed, it was solar winds. So I see I made the questions quite easy this time. So it came down to who could respond the fastest to take the number 1 spot. And let's see if that's still Ewout. So number 3 is yes. Congratulations, yes, with the number 3 spot. Number 2 is Roaring 20s. And number 1 with 8 out of 9 correct is Ewout. Congratulations, Ewout. You really had a very good streak going up there. Bart is number 4 and Michael Jackson, I assume, is number 5. So thank you all for participating. I hope you had some fun. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Ewout, if you could send me a message through the chat, you can send me a direct message. Then we can make sure we get your contact details and can get a nice prize your way. So I'm going to stop sharing that now. And I think that means, so I will also just put the our email address in here for our events team. So Ewout, if you would like to send us an email directly, that's also possible. It's events@hollandfintech.com in the chat box. And I think that means that we can go to the next slide and to the next presentation, because we have one pitcher left for this meetup. So the next pitch is by the software house. The presentation is going to be done by Gerbert Oudeveldhuis, and I think Marek is going to join as well, especially for the Q&A. So Gerbert and Marek, nice, you got your cameras on, great to see that. Whenever you're ready, feel free to share your screen and kick off the presentation.
Okay, just shared my screen, you can see it. So it's 5:15, Friday evening. I know I'm between you and the weekend, so I'm going to make this fast. I'm Gerbert Oudeveldhuis. I'm the general manager of the software house in the Netherlands, and with me is indeed Marek Gaida. Marek is our CTO and one of our founders. And if you have any project-related questions, etc., then he can help us out. So good, let's start. The software house is a software development company based in Poland. We have almost 190 people that deliver, design, develop, QA, and DevOps work. And our clients often say that we have the ability to think beyond the code. So it's an interesting remark. In 2020, we were rated #1 development company in Poland by Clutch. And we're extremely proud of that, because Clutch gathers validated reviews from our clients. They actually interview the clients, so it's not just something. We're not so good in quick and dirty solutions. We focus on solutions that need high scalability, security, and availability, and therefore mostly working with larger startups, scale-ups, enterprises, companies like that. We design and develop advanced software solutions, have a large React team, React Native team. For the front end, and for the back end, we mainly focus on Node.js and PHP. So as a AWS partner, we deliver enough DevOps implementations and to support our needs of client, of course. So I always say that we are kind of a special company, because we do not actively hire people. Sounds strange, but it's true. We believe in knowledge sharing and have regular meetups for developers. Unfortunately now webinars, of course. This meetup has 2,500 members, and those meetups are normally visited by developers that are a little bit more senior or eager to grow. And they visit our award-winning office that you can see in the pictures here, which is in a beautiful 100-year-old post office. And we have, the beanbags and swing sets and free food, etc. Everything that you would expect to find in an office in Amsterdam, I would say. So those developers visiting those meetups like our projects, the technology we present, and then often they apply for a job with us. Those people we accept to join, and therefore we normally do not have junior roles. We have some, but not many, which gives a special dynamic sometimes, because we are constantly looking for challenging projects for our people. And FinTech suits that very nice, of course. So, we do projects in many different industries and many different countries. The FinTech industry is one of our major industries because of the technical demanding environment, as I said already. But we also do focus on the Netherlands. We do deliver everywhere, but with a special focus on the Netherlands. We unfortunately cannot talk about all our clients, of course, but here you see a few of them. And in the Netherlands, we developed a popular app called Wie betaalt wat, in good Dutch. And in the Nordics, we worked with Arantio, Smartum, and Fana to develop their social payments platform. And recently, we started to work with Fiber in the UK and their sister company, Amsterdam Trade Bank, over here in the Netherlands. So we developed their payments, retail or deposit solution, and their website completely from scratch. using Form 3 and Fiber's environment. To give you a feel of projects that we do, so We Betaald Wat, as an example, was a small team. But the Amsterdam Trade Bank combined with Fiber is about 35 people involved. So we really scale from small to large teams. I would like to show some example projects. So let's have a look at that. So for who knows Brickfest, Brickfest is based in the UK, disrupted in the real estate investment business. We developed a low-code solution for them so that they can use that to quickly deploy solutions to their clients. They grew significantly. Were acquired by Patricia in Germany last year, and we are their development team and grew alongside with them in the last 5 years, which was a really interesting journey, I can say. Another example, and I'm going fast because it's almost weekend. Another example of what we delivered is for one of the largest banks in the Nordics. They were working with the company actually outside of the EU, and their regulations didn't allow for that. Poland, where we are based, is a member of the EU, of course, and therefore governed by GDPR and EU laws and things like that. So the software house took over the role and became part of their development team. We developed Fit2Go, an app, and we also improved their cloud environment because scalability was needed because they had a really high growth rate. Interesting. As said, we really strongly believe in knowledge sharing for both hiring new employees as starting new partnerships with our clients. Therefore, we also wanted to become a member of Holland FinTech. I host a CTO roundtable series on a monthly basis, and these are online sessions where we invite 3 CTOs normally and discuss an interesting topic in a really loose, informal way. The last one in December was organized together with Holland FinTech, and we had a CTO from Blanco, FinTech OS, and Factories. So where we were discussing about low-code versus custom code, etc., etc. So if you want to see it, go to YouTube and you can watch all the CTO roundtables there. We also do surveys in the development community. In 2020, we did a survey on the state of microservices and got 650 development leaders to answer that. So really interesting. Later in the year, we had 4,500 developers entering a survey on the state of front-end. And obviously, we share these outcomes. And the state of front-end report has been read by almost 20,000 people already. So go to our website where you can see those results and read them. So I said I would make it short. So my last slide. We would like to share knowledge with you also, and I would be interested to meet you, so feel free to reach out. Let's have a chat. We're also willing to do free consulting on your existing solution to see what can be improved. So just let us know how we can help, and thank you for your time. It's almost weekend, so I'm curious if there are any questions already and how we can help.
Thank you very much, Gerbert. Thank you for sharing that information. Very clear story. Before we go to the Q&A, well, 2 things actually. I would like the attendees, if they have any questions, to post them in the chat box. And I would like to ask the attendees as well to rate the pitch from Gerbert today, so we can announce the best pitch as rated by the audience in a minute. Good to see that your vote is in, Gerbert. There are no questions so far from the audience, but the first question just came in. What do you see as the critical success? This is actually the question I had myself as well. Because what do you see as the critical success factor for building fintech software?
So I would say for it's these days almost for every kind of project, but fintech especially is scalability and security. That's so a lot of DevOps work, setting it up right, etc. That is really important. So we one of those CTO roundtables we had with Picnic actually this year, and Picnic grew 15 times, so not 15%, no, 15 times, 1,500%. And then you need to be scalable, etc. So I think that's a really interesting story to look back on and learn from. These days with special cases like Corona, you just don't know what to expect. You need to be able to scale.
Okay, so it's really making software able that the company can scale and that the software is capable of doing that as well.
Yeah. The environment, yes.
Yeah, and the environment, of course, because it's not fully the question I had, so I'd like to ask that question as well. In the meantime, I would like to nudge everybody to submit your rating. So I feel like it seems like and if I look at your track record, you've had quite a lot of success actually since you were founded. There are a lot of companies out there who also offer software development. So is there anything that you believe has really was the distinguishing factor for your success as a company, or do you think it was the timing, or can you share any insights from that perspective?
You want to take that one, Mark? As one of the founders of our company, it makes sense, huh? We don't hear you.
Right now, okay, I had to mute myself. This is also very, very popular word during those times. Unmuting and muting. It's very often used. Hi, nice to be here. Yes, so as you Herbert usually say, is that the success really is about people, process, and technology. And what I think we were able to provide is those three things just at the best possible level, and that we focus on the high quality rather on reducing the costs, because down the line actually providing high quality means saving the costs, but it's just more difficult to calculate, right? But this is what it is, and I would say that's our uniqueness is about providing a good long-term partnerships rather than quick wins.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, that makes sense. Especially if you go for a more low-cost solution, maybe you will save cost in the short term, but in the long term, you might get less revenue as a result from it, and problems might arise as well of the lacking quality. So I assume it's really the long-term perspective and harnessing the quality for the long term. All right. Another question just came in from Jacob Paolo, and that's the last question before we go to the next slide. And in the meantime, we also went to the next question in Menti, so the attendees feel free to submit the answer to that question as well. The question from Jacob Paolo is, how do you make sure that the developed application is always available, accessible for the end user?
Yeah, that's a how long is a string a question. I mean, it's there's a lot that you can do and we do around that. So Jacob, I more than interested to set up a meeting to discuss that. But it's a lot of it starts with good setup in the cloud environment, but there's so much more to answer to that, I would say.
Be a lot of various elements indeed, but can indeed send each other a message through Hopin or even schedule a video chat, I think, in the platform. So feel free.
I will put my email address, or you can see it here on the screen still. I'm not sharing anymore, but here's my email address. So feel free to reach out.
Perfect. Thanks very much. That's it for the Q&A. Thank you, Gerbert, for the presentation. Thanks, Marek, also for helping out in the Q&A. It was very insightful, and I think we can go to the next slide.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great meetup.
Thanks a lot. So I believe you can leave your email address in menti.com if you'd like to receive the presentations from today. I think that's correct. Okay, so that should be good. And then, so you should be able to do that in menti.com. And then we can go to the next slide, and that is announcing the best pitch as voted by the audience today. And I'm just getting the communication from my colleague. The final votes are in. And the best pitch from today, the Holland FinTech January 2021 meetup, the best pitch award goes to Amdax. Amdax, congratulations. Valentino, congratulations for taking the best pitch award today. Are there any final words you'd like to say? Anyone you'd like to thank?
Well, I mean, I like to thank my team. That's about it.
Great. Well, I guess those are the people that realize it. So, congratulations, Valentino. Also, big thanks still to Fabian and Gerbert and Marek, because the other pitches were also really good and very insightful and high quality. So, so thank you all for participating. We will send a little gift your side, Valentino, for winning the best pitch today. And then I think we have 1 or 2 more slides before we can wrap it up. It just has passed 5:30, so great timing. We have some upcoming events. The next meetup is in the 12th of February. We have the Flash Friday every Friday morning, where our founder, Don, interviews someone from the fintech ecosystem, and they exchange knowledge, which is very insightful. And then we have an event about tokenization on the 20th of January called A Token of Appreciation, and it's about the value of tokenization for financial services. More information and more events you can find on our website. I believe this is the last slide for today. Yes, it is. My name is Michael Broymans. I am very grateful that you're all joining us today. I hope you had a good time. I'm going to go to the networking area, so if you want to network with me or with other people, feel free to do the same. And if not, I wish you a great weekend and hope to see you next time for the February meetup. Thanks a lot and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.